Here's one for you during the holidays. What's it like to lose somebody to suicide? Wait a minute. Wait just a second before you say, oh, no, not another one of those depressing things. For crying out loud, it's Christmas, and it's all of these happy people around. Well, you know what? It's also a period of time for depression, and you know that, don't you?
It can be, that's for sure.
Steve Scarrow, how do you know it on a professional basis and your participation in suicide prevention?
Well, I have a personal connection, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, but I currently work with, as a volunteer, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's a national organization with local chapters. I'm the chairperson here for the Arizona chapter. I'm also on the board of directors, and I help at the national level. I'm on the National Public Policy Council.
And this is a particularly bad time for depression, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. But you know, there's a lot of thought that this is the time of season when most suicides occur. It's actually not. It's actually not. But it is a time of depression, as I think most times of the year are for depression. But
when do most suicides take place?
Well, I don't know if there is a particular time of year, but we find that when stress situations occur, those situations could be from a college standpoint, before, after, big times at a college, such as taking tests, big tests coming up, freshmen coming into college, those kinds of stressors that happen.
It sounds like you're talking about your son.
Well, I am. My son, Joss, he died by suicide when he was 21. He was a senior at ASU, and just about a month from graduating. And for reasons that we still don't know fully, he decided to end his life.
Why don't you know them?
I don't think you ever, suicide is a very complicated issue, and I don't want to minimize any other type of death, because any death, especially death of a child, is a tragic thing. But suicide is one of those instances, one of those things that happen, and you don't. First of all, it's so unexpected, but secondly, you really don't know what all the causes were, especially if leading up to it there were no direct indicators. I remember my son and I, we went to a ball game 2 days before, a Diamondbacks game. Had a great time. Went with his granddad.
No indicators?
No, we had a great time. And then we had a great dinner the night before.
Everything to live for. Just graduating, just about to graduate, just about to embark on the life of an adult in the world of business, commerce, all of those things. And how many times have you heard this? One of the last people you would ever imagine.
Well, in our case with Joss, at that particular time in his life, it was something we didn't think was coming. Although I have to say, we did know that at a prior time in his life, he did suffer from a period of depression.
When? When in his life?
When he was in junior high. And up until that time, Pat, happiest kid, just full of life, would dance with the crowd, and he's just a fun kid.
What happened then?
What happens to anyone who goes through a period of depression, whether it's an emotional thing, which it wasn't with him. It was, as we find out, as we're doing more and more research, it was an illness. Depression is an illness, and the change in chemicals in the brain or other types of things that happen. But he had an onset that just sort of got him in a state where he was more and more withdrawn. And as a parent, I have to be honest, I didn't recognize that at first. I looked at it as going through being a teenager, hormones, all those types of things that you hear when kids go through these changes.
But there are a lot of parents right now.
That's right.
Who are watching and listening saying, well, wait a minute, hold it. My son, my daughter is this age, and I do notice some of those things. What can we do as parents, as friends, as relatives, to prevent suicide in our family?
And that's the key. There is no, the indicators are varied. If a child becomes withdrawn or an adult becomes withdrawn, we're not just talking about children. If there's a noticeable change in hygiene, in how a person appears, if I'm impeccably dressed and all of a sudden I really don't care how I look, If they start giving away or not being interested in some of the things that they really do love, if they become isolated from friends, if they become belligerent, if they become angry. When
And
they
then
hadn't
what do
been
I
that
do
way
though,
before.
Steve?
Well, first of all, you sit and talk with them. And you have an honest conversation, and that's the hardest thing I think for parents sometimes to do, or for friends to do, is to have an honest conversation. What's going on? And don't treat it as a behavior problem. You know, I think sometimes especially in schools, unfortunately I have to say, you know, we look at students who all of a sudden change as it's a behavior problem, and we treat it as a behavior problem, and it may not be. It is a behavior problem. That's a manifestation, though, I think, of the mental issue that's going on.
And as you said, it's such a complex issue, so therefore we're both obligated to tell our audience where they can go for answers to some of their questions.
Well, I think the first step is, like I said, to talk with the person involved, whether it's a friend, whether it's a parent. Don't be afraid to talk.
But what about your office?
AFSP can be contacted. We don't specifically have an office that we have, but we can be contacted, afsp.org. There are also many good organizations in town that can be contacted. By calling the suicide hotline, and you can get information. Impact here in town is a great place. The Crisis Prevention Center is a great place to call.
So many choices. Well, of course, one of the choices that you have to make is to do something and recognize some of the things that Steve and Steve's family didn't recognize at the time they lost their son. What's it like here on a holiday when we have to think these thoughts too?